Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pokemon Lab Premier Challenge. Pikachu here. Can you see it? There you go. We want to welcome you back too because this is going to be a really intense match. Because whoever wins this is getting some points going to count to their championship point total. So it's all stakes are on the table here. Besides, of course, the very last match of the day. So let's get started. It's Hector, Vargas, and Anthony Plasencia. So let's go. Hector's going to be on your left with Tapu Lele, Kyogre, Gengar, Yveltal, Bronzong, and Incineroar. Anthony on your right with Yveltal, Gengar, Bronzong, Incineroar, and Kyogre. But instead of that Tapu Lele, you have Togedemaru. So other than that, it is pretty much a mirror match. It's just the one switch off for Lele and Togedemaru. But which means this is gonna be an interesting match. No clear winner. Like all day, there hasn't been really a clear team that has had that advantage against the other one just typing alone, and here is especially true because it is a mirror match. So both teams are ready here. Looks like we're just waiting on connection to get started. Now it's interesting here because even though you do see the same Pokemon on five out of the 6 are the same Pokemon, you still have to play it interestingly, or you still have to play it good enough where you kind of have to get into your opponent's head, see if they're going to do the same thing as you, or see if maybe you're expecting to do the same thing as someone else, and you have that insight because you're playing the same Pokemon. So that's something that both players here can definitely use to their advantage. Another thing is you can see some different builds. We saw some pretty different Yveltals throughout all of the Sun and Moon format, and especially in Ultra. There's a whole bunch of different possible strategies for Yveltal. Bronzong as well. Some carry Hypnosis, some go Gravity and with Hypnosis. Some go Levitate, some go Heat Proof on that set. Some don't even carry any of those. Incineroar, you could go for a Berry, Assault Vest, or Z Crystal. There's a lot of possible options. One thing I kind of funny though, it looks like the connection was bad, so we're going to go ahead and restart that matchup. But one thing I wanted to point out was Togedemaru and Tapu Lele and how they're essentially counters for each other. I'm wondering because one of them prevents Togedemaru, or Lele prevents Togedemaru from using Fake Out. Togedemaru can knock out Tapu Lele with Iron Head. So in that case, that final slot kind of counters each other nicely. So you gotta go ahead and play that right in order to. Gotta play that right in order to have the advantage here. And as you can see, we're restarting the game here, getting it ready, get back into this here. But yeah, so it's definitely exciting to see a mirror match, you know, especially with some of the common Pokemon we see. Incineroar obviously extremely common, but not very often do you see Bronzong and Gengar and Kyogre. Or not Kyogre, Yveltal, sorry. Kyogre is extremely popular. But no, Yveltal, with all of those, they did end up being very popular in 16. Bronzong and Mega Gengar ended up going all the way to the finals and taking it all home in 2016 with the World Championship with Wolf Glick. But, you know, for some reason, they still haven't caught on too much here. So it's really neat to see them back in charge here, especially Gengar is another one of those Pokemon I feel like has a lot of options, but a lot of people end up going for the same sort of strategy. And I'm curious to see if any of these guys who are going to duke it out right now are going to kind of stick with that strategy with Gengar, or mix it up and use some more other unusual stuff. Anthony going to lead with Yveltal and Togedemaru, while we see Incineroar and Bronzong for Hector. And we did see the Dark Aura and then the Intimidate. So right off the bat, you know, Yveltal Togedemaru is definitely the faster Pokemon here. Yveltal getting out of there, kind of a bit threatened, but also bringing in Kyogre. Anthony is shutting down Hector's Incineroar. The Bronzong is a bit interesting because it could end up going for Hypnosis. We saw that a bit earlier, not on Bronzong, but on Drifblim of all Pokemon. And Hypnosis is such a crucial part of Bronzong's set. It can really shut down a team completely. But Anthony wants to shut down Bronzong completely by going for Nuzzle and trying to paralyze it. Incineroar not going to go for Fake Out either, so both of the two Fake Out users on the field are not going to use that, as he swaps out his Incineroar for something that we don't know yet. Good option here, I think, would be either mirror match that Kyogre or go into something that could take it. If you're Lele, it is Focus Sash like we saw earlier. That's a good option. But this Kyogre mirror match is definitely not a terrible spot for Hector, or Anthony for that matter, because it is pretty identical. But that Trick Room, obviously, coming out from Bronzong, that is probably one of the more crucial moves from Bronzong, especially if you're in a mirror match scenario like this and paralyzed. This Bronzong is going to be insanely strong with its Gyro Ball on pretty much every Pokemon, even the slower ones, thanks to that paralysis. And the skill swap, so taking out Togedemaru, Lightning Rod, and adding Levitate. Bit interesting. The Lightning Rod, though, gonna help if Anthony decided to go for Thunder, but he didn't. He still's gonna pick up that Water Spout attack while we see Hector then return it. So we also know Anthony's Kyogre is a bit slower than Hector's, and that Togedemaru actually lived that attack without the assistance of a Focus Sash. So huge props to him. Plus we see the Super Fang, so now Hector's Kyogre is in a tougher spot, especially now where if Anthony's is the faster one. Hector's Bronzong is going to be fastest on the field, though, so that you can use that to his advantage. Going possibly Hypnosis, maybe goes for Gyro Ball, try and knock off some Water Spout damage. There's a few options that Hector can do with that. While Togedemaru did pose a threat to Kyogre, but it also was threatened by Kyogre. So it's a bit interesting. Depending on who Hector decided to target, that Togedemaru could have been a safe spot. But instead, we're going to see the Incineroar switch in from Anthony's side. And we do see that Gyro Ball coming out. Going to target the Incineroar slot. Thanks to that resistance and Incineroar slow speed, that's not going to do very much at all. And we see Scald targeting Anthony's Kyogre. So with that, we now saw Anthony's Kyogre move first last turn. We see this time Hector's Kyogre move first. So possible speed tie between these two. And that Water Spout, thanks to Scald, the Water Spout did just enough for both of Hector's Pokemon to survive at the end of the turn. Now I'm thinking in this case, it's interesting. Incineroar on Anthony's side does have a possible Fake Out that can get rid of Hector's Bronzong or prevent Hector's Kyogre from attacking right off the bat, leaving Bronzong as the sole attacker. If I'm Anthony, I don't know what I would do here. I think both of them have their merits. Going to Fake Out the Kyogre, it does not want to have it take any damage. We see the Bronzong go for Safeguard. Bit of an interesting move there. That's going to prevent from stuff like, status conditions there. But that Water Spout is going to get rid of the Bronzong, but it is going to keep Hector's Kyogre alive by 7 HP. Very close call there. And we see the Yveltal from Hector's side. So essentially, still kind of mirror matched here. You have both Kyogres on the field. You have two dark types. The difference is Incineroar is now the faster one. Oh, but we see Sucker Punch from Yveltal, and that is going to keep Anthony's Kyogre alive, but does cripple it down to like 7 HP, as we saw here. The U-turn from Anthony's Incineroar gets rid of Hector's Kyogre, so now Hector down to his last 2 Pokemon. We see Togedemaru switch back in, and another possible Fake Out is in play. That's a good strategy because Hector can't move this turn right now. And we see that Ice Beam connect. So now that poses the question, we saw the skill swap earlier in the game from Hector's side with the Bronzong. That kind of poses the question, was that Kyogre running Thunder in the first place? I don't think it was, but we're going to see that Intimidate from Incineroar connects to both Anthony's. Not that it matters, except Togedemaru maybe. In this case, I don't think Anthony can do anything to avoid a double knockout here. Obviously, Togedemaru could Fake Out onto one of the two, but other than that, that double knockout was kind of destined, unless he switched out. Luckily, Anthony did have that position where he was able to swap out one of his two. Gets the Incineroar back in, gets the Intimidate, and Hector is going to use Incineroar's own Fake Out to target Anthony's Incineroar, and the foul play connecting with Togedemaru, getting it out of play. So now, I mean, the Togedemaru was hanging on by a thread. It had literally like 2 health the entire match, pretty much, or at least for a good chunk of it. A Kyogre also now at red health, and you know, you do have the fake out, and this is where I think Anthony kind of set it up real nicely here. You click fake out onto the Yveltal, make sure it doesn't move, and Origin Pulse or Scald, and then you're going to be able to get rid of that Incineroar. If it's Origin Pulse, there's a good shot that it will be able to take out both of Hector's Pokemon, so Anthony definitely set it up here where he's got a good spot, a good shot at taking this. There's a fake out on the Yveltal, even a critical hit. So if it's Origin Pulse, we would see, it's not Origin Pulse, it's Scald, and it's going to target the Incineroar. Incineroar lives that Scald with 3 HP, and U-turns out, does not want to, well, it doesn't want to stay in, I'm sure, because it's up against a Kyogre, but it's Hector's last 2 Pokemon, so that's not going to happen. That was interesting, and now gives Hector a bit more of a chance. You do have Sucker Punch, and that can hit the Kyogre, and if Sucker Punch hits Kyogre, then, or we're going to see Foul Play, because Yveltal's faster in general. So Kyogre's gone. Now, Hector's own Incineroar down to very low health, and we see that U-turn. So that is definitely what Anthony wanted to do. Hector's own Incineroar out of play now, and it's down to this Yveltal to take on the rest of Anthony's team. It is going to be another Yveltal and Incineroar coming out, and I think Anthony, you know, it would be really amazing if Hector is able to take this game, because Anthony set it up very nicely now to go ahead and just sweep. You fake out, you Oblivion Wing or Foul Play or whatever you want to use, really. They both do around the same amount of damage onto bulkier Yveltal here. We don't know if Hector's is bulky, but either way, it's going to do decent damage. And not only that, you have the Intimidate, which isn't going to matter for the Foul Play, but it will for Sucker Punch if Hector decides to use that now. And with the 47 HP he has, that's definitely going to be an option. Sucker Punch here, try and just go for it. But at this point, I think Anthony has taken the game. It's all but confirmed at this point. You know, that, again, it really did come down to that mirror match kind of scenario. You had, both teams had that Yveltal, we see Protect on Yveltal, so providing information that that Yveltal is not Assault Vested, which we might have seen earlier. I think we saw an Assault Vest Yveltal earlier. It wasn't confirmed, but it acted like it. And we saw basically preventing possible fake out from happening there and just ending the game now. But in this case, you still, you have to knock something out. And with Yveltal here, it looks like Hector is only carrying dark moves, and against 2 dark types, that really is a death sentence where Anthony can just double down here. Even though the Foul Play didn't do very much, you've got U-turn and you got most likely Flare Blitz on that Incineroar. So Anthony Plasencia gonna take game 1 of our top 8. But yeah, you know, in this case, very similar teams. Both had Yveltals, both had Kyogres, both had Incineroars, and both had a Steel type. But Anthony was able to maneuver himself a little bit better there. We also saw that Kyogre, I believe, it was a speed tie between the 2 of them. So that kind of could be a huge clue that Trick Room might not be the right play, because you're going to just end up outspeeding or being in the speed tie anyway. So maybe Hector would drop that Bronzong. I personally think that a Gengar would be really useful here. If Anthony decides to go for his own Bronzong, but other than that, I don't think it will really pose any threat. It's tricky because Tapu Lele and Bronzong and Gengar on Hector's side do struggle a bit against Anthony's team. And then in reverse, same thing. Bronzong and Gengar struggle on Anthony's team, though his Togedemaru does fend a bit better against Hector's. But we will see Gengar and Tapu Lele lead to a relatively fast team for Hector, while Anthony going to go for that double dark combo of Incineroar and Yveltal. Lele Psychic Surge going to activate before Yveltal. So either this Yveltal is a slower, bulkier variant, or that Tapu Lele is going to be faster. Or, Scarf, sorry. It's definitely faster. Yeah, Hector's team has definitely got that speed advantage. The Incineroar cannot fake out thanks to the Psychic Terrain, and Gengar is in a bit of a tough spot, though. We will see the Mega Evolution right off the bat, confirming that and preventing Anthony from switching out unless he uses something like U-turn with Incineroar, so that is still a possibility. Tapu Lele moving before the Gengar, and that confirms that Scarf right there. Moonblast connecting with the Yveltal, getting it down to red health. Gengar gonna go for Sludge Bomb, wants that Yveltal out, and ask and you shall receive your Hector right now because that Yveltal is gone. Incineroar gonna U-turn out. Like I said, that's the only way to switch out of a Shadow Tag ability here. And now Anthony can position himself a bit better, though I still think Incineroar is a safe spot. Kyogre also very useful, I think. With Tapu Lele locked on a Moonblast and not a Psychic attack, that definitely means that Kyogre will be able to survive a hit most likely. There is that chance of critical hit and maybe a high damage roll will do it, but it's a bulky... Kyogre is a bulky mon, especially against 2 special attackers on Hector's side, so Anthony still has a chance at this. Bringing back in Incineroar, yeah, you're going to lose that. Intimidate, but Incineroar can go for knockoff, and that can really affect Tapu Lele and Gengar, even though Gengar can't have an item knocked off. So I think here, like I said, that Intimidate, it's not going to do much on Hector's side right now, but Incineroar is still good typing-wise, and it's just a good Pokemon in general. You don't need Intimidate for Incineroar to be good. I've used it without Intimidate back in 17, and I tell you, I still love it, so... It's still a good Pokemon. You see that Moonblast on the Kyogre? That actually does a decent amount, getting rid of around a third of the health. The Sludge Bomb combo not going to do it. But Anthony cooks Water Spout, so he's going to get about a third power Water Spout out here. Neither of Hector's Pokemon are going to like that, especially coupled with a Snarl, but they are going to survive it and put it in a position where Hector can now remove Anthony's Kyogre. If it does enough, I don't know now, because the Lele did around a third of the damage onto Kyogre. Kyogre has around a quarter of health left, so there's a chance Moonblast will get rid of it, but with that special attack drop, that might not be enough. Might need a double target with Gengar again. And that we're going to see right now. Yeah, that Moonblast is not going to KO, so they're going to have to double target here. And Anthony now locked in to his last 2 Pokemon, Incineroar and something else we don't know. But he is going to U-turn out, adding another Intimidate just in case, and... though it's not going to really matter again, it is kind of nice to shuffle in Incineroar here and there because you never know what could happen. We see Togedemaru is the last Pokemon from Anthony's side. That is actually pretty decent, I would say. If you don't have your restricted legendaries, Togedemaru at least does a decent job at checking Kyogre and Yveltal, both of them weak to electric attacks. Yeah, we know Hector brought in Kyogre, possibly Yveltal. We don't know about that for a fact yet, though. And, you know, I think with Nuzzle, you know, paralysis hacks are just some of the most annoying yet convenient things to happen, you know. There's a joke I saw online where it's like, as we see Hector switch into Yveltal, I'll tell you, but it was like, what is my opponent Pokemon, what happens to them while they are paralyzed? They, like, do a break dance, run a marathon, everything. Mine gets paralyzed like 7 times in a row, and we see that possibility with Tapu Lele here with that Nuzzle. That's how it feels. Always, the opponent always moves, you don't. We saw Lele connect with the Moonblast and Togedemaru, so if it's carrying a focus, that's just broken, but more importantly for Anthony here, you got rid of that Tapu Lele, so that's 1 opponent down, even though he is going to have to handle 3 Pokemon, including 2 restricted legends, just with Incineroar and Togedemaru. Also, paralyzing Tapu Lele was a bit of an interesting choice, considering Tapu Lele, at this point, you know, none of Pokemon on Hector's side are possibly paralyzed. U-turn, we saw, could have knocked out the Tapu Lele, maybe without the Nuzzle help, but in this case, it's guaranteed that one of Hector's Pokemon is going to move, even with that Nuzzle possibility later, so that's a bit unfortunate. That's a bit unfortunate here for Anthony, and it looks like it's a forfeit. It looks like we're going to just go straight into Game 3. Anthony doesn't want to reveal anything else, and he's just going to take the loss, give Hector that point, and we're going to Game 3. So, you know, when you have 2 teams that are essentially mirrors, it's always going to come down, most of the time it comes down to the Game 3, because it could go either way. I mean, 5 out of the 6 Pokemon are the same, so you just got to play it right, and, you know, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Both players think they can play it right here. They're ready, they're locked in. Let's go. Now, we have seen similar leads from Anthony. We saw that his Yveltal's led every single time. Hector swapped his lead entirely on the last round. This time, he's switching up a little bit, going for Yveltal on top of Lele. While we see Yveltal and Togedemaru Anthony going back to his game 1 lead. We see both those Yveltals on the field. And those counterparts, the Togedemaru and top of Lele. I've been saying earlier that they counter each other, you know, one prevents fake out, one gets knocked out. Also, good to keep in mind, Psychic Terrain was first, then Anthony's Yveltal outsped Hector's with the Dark Aura. So either speed tie or Anthony's is faster. That could go either way. Yveltal from Anthony's side going to protect right off the bat, revealing it's not Assault Vest as well. Top of Lele going for that Moonblast, and that's actually going to target the Togedemaru slot, so maybe expecting that protect right off the bat. I'm a bit surprised we did. Oh! And we're going to see Dark DMZ here from Hector's side. Looks like Hector really wants that Togedemaru out. So that Black Hole Eclipse coming out. Now, what I was going to say, and there's, as you see, it does target the Togedemaru, but what I was going to say here is I was surprised I didn't see Togedemaru go for the fake out on the opposing Yveltal, but
it didn't hear anything.
It didn't do anything at this point, yeah, so. But that, you know, sometimes there's a strategy that seems clear in your head and it doesn't end up working out because of something unexpected like that, you know. You don't know when that Yveltal is going to go for that Z move. If it carries one even, because Yveltal is such a versatile Pokemon. But it doesn't really matter. Anthony going to go bring in his Primal Kyogre here. And see what he can do with that. Now, the thing here for Hector, he has a tiny advantage, I think. It really still is anyone's game, though, because Kyogre is such a dominating force. But Tapu Lele has Moonblast. So Moonblast can right away cripple Yveltal down to the last, like, 16th of its health, really. Possibly knock it out, depending on the damage roll. So that is a huge plus. But Kyogre, then, is neglected, because Foul Play doesn't do too much on the Kyogre. And in this case, Hector just wants to knock out Anthony's Yveltal no matter what. So Yveltal's gone. And that leaves a full power Water Spout from Kyogre. Primal Kyogre in the rain. Yeah, that's not good. Hector loses the Tapu Lele, but that Yveltal survives it, and that's going to be a huge play for him, because that might, having that extra Pokemon in the back might be exactly what he needs. But with Incineroar now on the field too, it's interesting. Incineroar can possibly fake out the Yveltal, so Yveltal kind of forced into either a Protect or Switch or get knocked out here scenario for Hector. That leaves him with Kyogre. And I believe we saw that these two Kyogres are in a speed tie. So it really depends on who goes first. If Hector goes first, then Anthony can knock out the Incineroar right off the bat. If Anthony goes first, maybe carrying something like Thunder, we didn't really see its other move yet, I don't think. We just saw the water moves. If it's carrying Thunder, then that Kyogre is not in good shape for Hector's side. We do see the Protect on Yveltal, preventing Fake Out. Scald from Hector's Kyogre onto the Incineroar, and Incineroar takes it! Not a berry, most likely it is Assault Vest, and Water Spout from Anthony's side, trying to deal a decent amount of damage on the Hector's, but it's not too much damage here. Still in this case, now in this case, actually, it is a bit of a safer play here for Hector. Because he's able to protect Yveltal, it probably is fastest on the field. We see that Foul Play from Hector here going onto the Kyogre slot and actually doing a decent amount. And Anthony now going first with his Kyogre, so like we said, it is a speed tie. Getting rid of that Yveltal. Now Hector has the possibility to get rid of this Incineroar and cripple Anthony's Kyogre. We're going to be in a very, very similar scenario here, but Hector has the advantage because he's got that extra Pokemon. And it is Gengar, and we saw that thing Megas earlier, so at this point, I think Hector Vargas is going to take the round. Oh, Looks like Anthony's packing up over there. Yeah, that was a close call. I mean, it's a mirror match, so you can't beat yourself up for it if you do lose, because you're playing against yourself, essentially. And, you know, it really just comes down to getting in the opponent's head, and a lot of times when it comes to that type of scenario where you have to get into your opponent's head, it's a 50-50 chance a lot of times. Sometimes it's like, oh, they're going to do this, and then you, like, they can do one thing or another, and then whatever you pick will decide the game. If you pick right, you win. If you pick wrong, you lose. It could just come down to the last turn sometimes. In these mirror matches, anything is possible, but Hector Vargas is going to take game number 2 and move on to our top 4. So that is going to do it. Join us in a few moments. Hector is going to be playing in the top 4 eventually. And we don't know who else he's going to be playing against, but we're going to find out in just a few minutes. We know there's a lot of really popular players who are still playing, like Ben is over there, Ben Lee, and Dina from earlier did make the top 8. We said it was a win and you're in match, and that happened to be true. So huge congrats to Hector for going to the top 4, and we'll see you guys later for that top 4 matchup later.